Ethers are the native cryptocurrency of the Ethereum network.
The Ethereum ecosystem.
Ether and Ethereum.
Second largest cryptocurrency in Ether.
I ultimately believe Ethereum will pass Bitcoin in market cap.
As the highly anticipated Ethereum merge set to begin.
Ethereum blockchain.
Ethereum. Ether.
Ethereum
network merged.
Ethereum is a general purpose tool. You can think of it a bit like an iPhone or a smartphone that has like an app store associated with it, right? That lets you build and deploy all sorts of applications on it. It was very general purpose.
So what's Ethereum?
Ethereum is the second largest cryptocurrency measured by market capitalization, and it uses a different blockchain than Bitcoin. It was developed to be more than just a medium of exchange. It was developed to also be a platform on which many projects are being built.
Ethereum really, as its innovative piece, had the idea that instead of transactions as being a transfer of funds from one person to another, it also allows you to have code embedded inside of those transactions as well, which gives this rise to smart contracts. The key difference between Ethereum and Bitcoin is the idea around executable code, or the smart contracts being there as a part of the system.
In your words, what is a smart contract? Explain that to me.
So a smart contract, like I was saying, it's this block of code that's been deployed to the blockchain in a transaction. So it has this real sort of strong verifiability that this is what is running on the chain is the same for everyone that does it. It then gives you that ability to be able to send transactions there to the chain with that, again, that verifiability that everyone is seeing it. You've got everyone that's on the chain being able to verify what has happened in that executable code that's happened there in those transactions.
Is the ability to make smart contracts the only difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum?
The other thing that has been really distinctive that's just happened this year with Ethereum is the idea of proof of stake. And so that's the idea that instead of there being the classic proof of work system that's used within Bitcoin to provide that trust that everything is being done well and being done fairly, it's been upgraded to be proof of stake. And so that means that much less energy is being used. And so it's much better for the environment.
Back in the 19th century with the Industrial Revolution, they had originally wood powering steam engines, and they were clear cutting all the forests of Europe. So if that trend continued, it would have been an ecological disaster. But then they found better fuel sources like coal and oil and so forth, and they were able to mitigate that. And so similarly, innovation gets you out of these situations. The goal of Bitcoin was really saying, hey, we want a decentralized settlement system and we can teleport this digital gold anywhere in the world instantly. And that was revolutionary for 2009. Remember, now we're in a different place. We have millions of people floating around, thousands of academic papers, millions of lines of code, and an enormous amount of technological investment. And we've just simply moved on. We've innovated to a point where you don't need to clear cut those forests anymore. And unfortunately, the people in the Bitcoin space, some of them feel that there's only one truth, the wood-powered steam engine.
This new upgrade for Ethereum doesn't make it faster, cheaper, but it does make it greener. It changes how it processes transactions. So it moves away from crypto mining to a process known as staking, where investors receive the chance to validate transactions by pledging capital in return for interest. The energy consumption reduction is going to be significant. It's going to be the size of a small country. It was projected by an Ethereum researcher prior to the merge. Ethereum was estimated to consume about 0.2% of worldwide electricity. So that's a big switch that we're seeing from crypto. And obviously, energy consumption is a huge detractor for some investors when they look at the asset class.
Is there a way to briefly, simply describe proof of work versus proof of stake?
So proof of work, it's all about proving that you've done work, that you've solved a really hard computational problem there. And so the proof of work, there's lots and lots of computers all at the same time producing their own solutions working towards getting a guess or trying to prove that they've done the work to get a solution. And so that by its nature, to get the security and trust that you need for that, you need to increase the amount of energy or work or computing power that's being done for it. Proof of stake, instead of using the computing power to do it, people are able to stake an amount of Ether so that underlying currency that sits behind Ethereum, and you stake that ether. And then if you do the right thing by producing blocks and the rest of the network agrees with the blocks that you're producing, you get a reward. If you do the wrong thing, you get slashed and you lose some of that ether that you've put aside there and invested in it.
So what's Ether?
Ether does a couple of things. So the most important thing that it does is to make sure that the people that are doing the mining of the transactions on the chain, or in the sort of new world, we've got the proof of stake. So the people that are creating the transactions and forming these blocks are rewarded for the compute power that they're doing, and executing to make sure that this state is verifiable and trusted and working really well. You use Ether as a way of paying for those transactions. So there's this idea of gas, which sits in Ethereum. So gas being the amount of compute power that it takes to execute these transactions.
What is gas? I know like you said, it's used to pay for the transactions, but maybe just dive a little bit more into that.
So if you think about a transaction that's happening on Ethereum, there's two things that are happening there. One might be a value transfer of Ether from one person to another. The second is executing some code on the chain. It takes compute power to do that. That compute power is costing people to be able to do. And so to be able to make sure that there's the right economic incentives in that transaction execution, gas is used to help pay for that.
How secure is Ethereum in comparison to, let's say, Bitcoin?
It's not really an apples to apples comparison, right? Bitcoin has different monetary characteristics than Ethereum does. And in particular, when we look at Ether, it's a bit harder to reason about it because it primarily serves as what's called gas, right? So every time you run an application on the Ethereum blockchain, you need to hold this Ether coin to pay for the gas. So it exhibits characteristics, like monetary characteristics. It also exhibits these characteristics of commodities like fuel.
By using proof of stake, you end up increasing the security of the network. When you start to have proof of work, and particularly in networks that grow bigger and bigger, the economic incentives are for people to pool together to create mining pools around the systems. Proof of stake, with the lower actual economic requirements to be able to be an active part of the network, increases that security by getting it more decentralized and getting more different people involved in the network.
Ethereum sounds incredible. So what can I actually do with it?
There's a bunch of really interesting real-world use cases that we start to see. One of the ones that's been really sort of popular lately is the idea of NFTs, non-fungible tokens. What that starts to look like at the moment, it's digital collectibles. In terms of what that could do in the future and where that gets really exciting, is it starts to be digital scarcity of things. And that starts to be really interesting for thinking about mapping real world things into digital versions, really decentralizing the digital representation of things. Contracts, you could think about real estate having digital representations.
It's been used for creating decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs, as they're called for shorthand. And basically that's an easier way to form a business on the internet. But the main purpose of this is to democratize the leadership and decision making in these firms. It takes the power and puts it in the hands of the members of these DAOs to collectively make decisions versus a CEO or an independent board of directors executing those decisions.
One of the other things that was really exciting around 2020 was this idea of DeFi, so decentralized finance, taking a lot of the financial primitives that have been done by banks and making it so that it runs on Ethereum. And so being able to marry maybe some of those worlds of real estate with the DeFi and fractional ownership of things, and sort of gets exciting, all the different things that you can start to think about with the use cases there.